What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy, The Real AE. Welcome to CTN Podcast, Episode 2, or better yet known as Certified Traders Network. Today, we have the second episode with a brother of mine, who's been able to travel around the United States doing amazing different things. But pretty much what makes him very, very popular in his world is also the creativity in the digital era. Right, by him being a digital artist, his mind is allowing to expand in ways and differences that we cannot even imagine. Right, and because of that, on a day-to-day basis, he now has the freedom and opportunity to be able to bring people's images that they cannot even artistically create themselves, and now bring them into a third dimension from a two-dimensional space. So today, guys, we're going to be having a very high-level intellectual conversation with none other with my brother, Mr. Luck Created. How you feeling, my G? How you feeling?
Feeling amazing, bro.
Love that.
Man, appreciate the invitation, bro.
Yeah,
we done spoke so many of these conversations, and it's gonna be different to have it officially on record, bro.
Yo, absolutely.
Man, we've been needing to do this one.
Oh no, for sure, man. Look, so let's go ahead and break this down, man. If you don't mind, give a brief little synopsis where you come from, where your inspiration of artistry in the digital era came from.
Oh, absolutely. So I grew up in the streets of Chicago, South Side. Moved around a lot, but one thing that I've always been attracted to is just images. You know, I'm a visual person. I was never really just real mathematical, but I was able to decipher images. Was always fascinated with it, man. From simple animation, cartoons, 3D, classical, right, Baroque period. Everything, bro. Everything from A to Z. So, and I just always had that natural attraction.
Oh, I love that, man. That's crazy, and it's. What it pretty much depicts is that there's always a level of opportunity and creativity no matter where the city that you come from, because every facet and every environment is completely different. Then we also got to understand that different perspectives, different eyesights, people have vision impairments, so their whole world is perceived exactly what they only know, right? So if one person can look at the same canvas and get a different feeling, but it's the same canvas, right? So the artistry and creativity, especially coming from that south side of Chicago, with it being musically inclined, big on sports, there's just a lot of rich history in the city, in that town area. So I love the fact that you was able to find that level of creativity where you're able to now transition into that skill set over time. And I wanted to speak into the skill set side of things. With you being an artistically inclined, are there levels of disciplines, or are there certain disciplines in artistry that you follow that you kind of implemented and that got you to this point today? Like, what would be some of those disciplines, if you don't mind sharing?
Man, discipline-wise, honestly, just never be so in love with the first thing that you create. It's kind of like the golden rule of having an idea. You know what I'm saying? Every great invention, let's just use the telephone, for example. Right, being able to connect two different frequencies. They didn't stop by just saying, "Hey, we have these wires, and we're restricted to this area to get on the same frequency." At some point, we have to walk around. At some point, we got to make these models. We have to somehow make it better.
Right.
And that's the same thing with art. You know what I mean? Like when you say you look at a person could look at the same canvas to see a different image. Everything we look at is a piece of art. It started in somebody's mind.
Right.
If you really look at this, that's industrial design. This table, the faucet, the camera that you shooting on started off as a design. Right? So certain disciplines, man, really never just get so complacent on the first thing you create. One thing I do is I practice always making some type of time lapse or at least record my process, record my journey, because to the viewer, they need to understand that this started with some type of process.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. See the change, see the evolution of it all. And by being able to document that as a creator, as a designer, it gives you so much more value.
Right. Showing that process. Right.
What's crazy is, I'm certified in the area. I got a degree in art and design and digital media that nature. But what's crazy is even in the industry, like when you're working in the workplace, they want to see a certain amount of sketches, a certain amount of process till you got to your final design, because it validates your price.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. It validates your price.
Of course.
I like that. Okay.
Right. It basically gives a company a reason that you're charging this type of amount for that set budget. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a good salesman. There's not a certain price that you can't put on a good artist. I mean, think about it. Picasso is selling for, multi-millions. Right?
Right.
I mean, a good salesman, it's levels to everything. When you think about sales, or you think about just the business in general,
Right.
Let's just say the bottom of the barrel, you're dealing with the product.
Right? Bottom of the barrel, yeah.
You're a soldier, you're a distributor, like you're selling the product. But let's just take it a couple steps above. You're no longer selling the product. Now you selling the business. Right? Let's take it another step above that. Right? Now you on the board of creative, so you're on the board of directors, and now you're literally not selling the product or a company, but you're selling the idea. I'm thinking about doing this. This is my research. This is what I believe. This is my target. X, Y, and Z. All right, sounds good. I'm gonna need $500,000. And then a good salesman, he's gonna be able to go in that room and not flinch. He's gonna ask for that price because he's already validated his process. He already validated his idea. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily a price that you could put on good artwork. It's not a necessarily cap on a price that you could pay a good salesman, because they have different duties. It just depends on what level are you on. Are you pushing the product, or are you pushing the vision?
Okay. I have to process what just went down. Because that right there was levels. So let's understand this. You're talking about the different levels. When you're a distributor, you're selling the item. When you're the manager, you're selling the business. When you're the board, you're selling an idea. So the fact of that level, or that trigonometry of getting up to that level, just allows for us to understand that that every step of the process there is some kind of action of selling the dream, idea, and the belief, because it hasn't happened yet, right? So you're making these proposals along your life in the world of artistry, and so by documenting your process, just understand, by documenting your process from allowing the viewers, allowing the people who are the buyers in the marketplace, so allowing the marketplace to develop the feeling of time and the warmth and the emotions into the painting, into the artwork, because by showing them the process, doing the time lapses, and people love that, especially on TikTok. It's very popular, where every once in a while I get one of those drawers that come on, and it's like it took me 221 hours to create this painting, and it's pencil, and it looks like a photo, and you look at it and it's like, wow, the time management. And so now I feel sold into not just buying your finished product. You've sold me on the journey. Absolutely. And so, and one of the most profitable things in business that I've been able to experience is the journey is the selling piece, because the journey, everybody has to go through the journey, but the two things that don't or will never line up, and I want people to understand this, and you're working with people in business, from my experience, how you start and how they start will always be different.
Absolutely.
How you end and how I end will always be different. But the journey, we have to use the same principles of success in the journey. That's one of the only times that we are similar, because we're in the process.
Absolutely.
And so I want people to understand what in this world of being creative, in this world of business, understanding the tiers on what is the selling point or mechanism or cash flow into the business, and then also understanding what you're doing in transactional conversations with people in that business when you're when you're trying to name your price. I want to add to that whole naming of your price. We always believe that our wealth is priceless, right? We come up with priceless things. just for the time being, in only certain rooms, I'm gonna be very clear disclaimer. This idea is only in certain rooms. It's not how I view things every single day, or how I live my life, or how I view the world. This is in certain rooms I have these kind of ideas. So I want to be to let y'all know that when you are when you having that, be able to have a thought in that particular area, I look at my life as not just priceless. I actually figure out what the price of my life is right now by adding up all my expenses. Your expenses is a great way for you to recognize what kind of price you live on, what kind of price you're setting. That's how much your price is worth by how much you're spending. It's a temporary idea, but it helps me with this money management. So I want to ask you this question. In the world of artistry and what you're doing, what were some ways that you have been able to generate or begin the operation of adding more streams of income into your life? Like, what are some things you've begun to set yourself up that's going to help push this artistry career that you're looking for?
Man, the biggest thing is ownership.
Yeah.
You know, I can't say it enough. In a world of, you know, artificial technology that's literally been streaming all day, ownership for the artist is always going to be your value. Well, of course we could always duplicate, but where's that ledger system? You know what I'm saying? How could they trace it back to you? What's the difference between, it's kind of like the same question of what's the difference between an NFT and a screenshot? You know what I'm saying? It's the validation. It's the proof. So as an artist, I feel like the main thing is honestly ownership. That's going to be your value. Some of the things that I put in place is first and foremost, it's so many different ways, but the first and foremost is service. Right? And it really depends on what type of artist you are. Don't get me wrong, because kind of just like when you was expounding on the whole validation system and the things people do for a process to actually charge a certain price, and I look at that on a corporate level, right? Yeah, they need to see a certain amount of drawings, a certain different amount of variations. I personally do it because I like to give my customer that satisfaction out of every meeting. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Hey, you might love this design, but you might not necessarily like this color palette. So let me lay out a couple of these for you, right? Let me give you a couple options, and the real value of it is that personalism. You know what I'm saying? Look, I'm not charging you for all of these variations. It's already made. So I'm going to give you ownership, right? Or you can license it as an artist. It really just depends on, your delivery method. Another thing, to be able to make like revenue. Well, matter of fact, let me finish the first thought. As far as that's how people do it on a corporate level, like for companies or whatever. But when you look at it on the flip side, Picasso didn't necessarily have to give you too many variations. He already knew his worth. He said, "Look, I'm about to make some random organic shapes, and I'm gonna charge you what I want to because I'm Picasso."
Because I'm him.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm him, right?
Because he understand. First and foremost, art it have a significance. You know, a 3-year-old can make something that look like Picasso. They just don't know how to charge their value. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's piece is not gonna look directly the same. Even if you trace it, it would never look identical to the original. Or even they look identical, your value as an artist is ledger system. Oh, wait a minute. So I'm gonna look a little funny here, bro. This look a little familiar right here, bro.
Right.
This look like a little creative piece. You know what I'm saying? So by you being able to honestly like give a tag of ownership, and I recommend like crypto, Web3, some type of, tokenize your artwork. Because now, we have the technology to put in different pieces of canvases or even clothing nowadays. QR codes, all of these things can be tokenized to the fact that, all right, I know I'm getting a creative piece. I know I'm getting a real thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, I know that because I'm actually there's an actual crypto Web3 guy. His name is his first name is Idris, Iddis. I forgot what his last name.
Idris
Sandu.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we're talking about. When we're talking about the wearable, tokenized pieces of clothing. He actually runs a business right now. It's called Space Labs, where he's doing that right now. Tokenized clothing with your own holographic desk system, avatar, point system, and so you walk around in public like it is one of the smoothest things I've seen. And it's not. He said it's through a special glasses that you can wear that also has like SPF protection, but it's definitely up on the coming right now. So Idris Seydou, right? Idris Seydou, Space Labs. Look that up on all social media platforms. Google it. You will find it, and the website is absolutely gorgeous. If you know about cryptocurrencies, that's going to be a great website for you guys to definitely look at the future on what's going to happen there. And I like the fact what you're talking about not being able to name the price because, like Picasso, he understood that himself is valuable, and that what he creates, he has now the power to determine his price based off of the worth that he had, what his self-worth was. And I think a lot of us have to have a balance in naming our price because of what we're worth, but naming the price to match the marketplace. And that's a whole different level of different marketing and advertising. I don't know the terms completely, but a lot of businesses and companies do it. So we can also operate within those spaces as well. Especially like an easy way to think about it is how you spend your energy. How you spend your energy. So if you're spending your energy with one individual person, they understand that worth or value of energy is way more expensive than the way your energy when you go out into the world, the way you expend your world.
Absolutely. And you got to look at it from two different aspects. You got to look at it as who's your demographic, and not only your demographic, but who do you have access to? Right? I understand I can't, from a person that doesn't have a very generous budget as far as free cash flow, I can't charge you Picasso. So my role as strategy got to be different. I gotta make something affordable that can reach the masses, right? So instead of worrying about just high level customers, I have to be able to move a lot of units, right? Which is where that sales aspect come into place. Or on the flip side, hey, maybe you don't have to move a lot of units, but I have to up the price. You up the price, you have to up the quality. You have to stand on your price because, I mean, these other big brands do it. Yeah, you have to think about it. What's the difference between you know what I'm saying? What's the difference between a Louis Vuitton T-shirt or the activewear that's hanging in Dick's Sporting Goods? It's the same material. It's probably made in 9 times out of 10. It's made in the same country, same ink that it's being printed on. It's just the branding and the marketing behind it,
and the value that we give it as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So it's the same thing, with your art pieces, and also with charging your value. Sometimes that confidence have to be built up between pieces and between customers. A person find their stride. A person find their confidence from repetitive success. You know what I'm saying? If you've never had success before, and success is going to be how you define it.
Okay. Right.
It's going to be how you define it.
It's the measurement.
Success
becomes the measurement. Okay.
Absolutely. So you're going to gain more confidence. You're going to gain more confidence, which is going to add to your value because you're the one that's setting the bar. A brand new customer is not going to know your old price. They only going to know the price that you give them.
Because they knew. They don't know your past.
And it's not about, taking advantage of anyone. It's the phrase, yesterday's price is not today's price. You know what I'm saying? So, all of that comes into place with, leveling up, if you want to say, bossing up in the creative space. You know what I mean? To be able to, and let's talk about it from a digital standpoint, a digital artist standpoint. To be able to reach a certain, it's either, let's just say I'm a videographer, right? It's either I'm finding a young artist that I believe in and we're building together, right? You using my visuals, I'm using your audio, and we building this thing up to the top. Or you done work with so many other counterparts to the fact that it's like, know what? This young gun been snapping. Whoever shoot bro a video, next time I'm in Houston, next time I'm in the shop, I'm shooting with bro. And it's the same as, like I said, kind of moving those units, getting, building up your reputation, building up your confidence.
That rapport. The rapport and then that between you and your customer, the rapport is gonna now be transferable from not just from the customer but from to you and to another ability as well. So I think that's gonna be something that's super important when it comes to building customer clientele. You're expanding your reaches now, going to global masses. The reviews start coming in. You start to be able to figure out how the business is going to circulate through different seasons in artistry. So I want to speak on the seasons thing, and I believe that when it comes to how you've invested your money as well, understanding that you also trade, we've traded together. I want to speak on when it comes to what we can do about what season that we're in our life. So we understand. Let's just set the scene for what I want the viewers to expect from this one. You have 4 seasons. You all know spring, fall, winter, right? And then the summer. You have summer. So you have that spring, summer, fall, winter. It will be that order naturally. Naturally, it will fall in that order. For us, we have to understand that each season, our emotions and our identities of who we are from just an energy perspective, how we expenditure our energy through those seasons change as well. They fluctuate and it repeats, and it's these cycles of how we do this. And so those are naturally born cycles that we could, if we wanted to, we could, but a lot of people don't naturally go for that kind of rotational movement through the different seasons naturally.
Right.
So I want to speak that we can actually create our conscious season too. We can create seasons consciously that we want to be in. That doesn't have to always fall in line with the natural laws that are there. So, because you understand, if spring is represented as birth, new life, why do people still get sick in the springtime? Why do we get sick with pollen? Right. So it's not saying that we're trying to negate the beautifulness of spring, but there's that duality and there's always that double-sided thing. So I speak on, for us, create this consciousness that the winter time where we can be in our deepest bag in the winter. Springtime, okay, I'm ready to go out. Summer, I'm out. Fall, right. I gather back in. So what I want to ask you is, when I believe that artists go through seasons in their creative set? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So hold on, I got you. So you said so they do. They transition. How have you been able to determine what kind of season you're in, consciously, subconsciously? What was some of your mental processes that you did for yourself to figure out where you were in your season and how that can positively affect the way you create? Sorry for the loaded question.
No. Honestly, bro, it was a spot on question, but it really made me think. And as I reflect on it, most of my designs come from a mental aspect of me not feeling the best. In a way, that's where most of my bangers come from, because it's hoodie season. It's head down. It's mainly the fourth quarter. It might not be the end of the year, but me mentally, it's like, all right. It's always that feeling like, man, something been telling me. Like, I've been getting those whispers. I've been getting those those feeling, those vibes that I need to go harder. Right, and that's when the best art happens.
So, being able to do that as well, and the factor of you knowing how to be well and knowing how to do well, and at those high level in those periods and stuff like that consistently. Go ahead, man.
So for mine, really practicing all the different avenues that these creations can use to monetize. All right, so from a standpoint, usually the first season is the ideation. What is my idea? What am I creating? Because like I said, it's gonna vary. It's gonna have so many different looks, but it may have the same concept, which is where collections are produced. Right, you see, these brands have a fall collection, spring collection. If you look at it, you look at the catalog, they generally have the same color palette. They generally have the same phrases. It might be a main logo or a mascot that'll represent one design. Then the next will be like a phrase, and then it'll be color palettes kind of spread along the line. That was their season. That was the season of their mind that the designer was going through, that they pushed during that period because they had the whole process. You know what I'm saying? And you got to understand that that's like that's a prime example of understanding that the process is valuable in its own. It may not be what you were shooting for. You may have made modifications, and then you look back like, damn, design number one was pretty damn good, right?
Right.
Look, I'm about to push this out anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're able to basically choose that value. So step two, after the creation process is, all right, look, let me really sit back and think about all of these different mediums, right? And when I say mediums, it could be clothing, it could be canvases, it could be an NFT art space. It can be and you really gotta, like, when it comes to art, you really gotta think about all of the mediums, right? It's people put designs on skateboards. It's people put designs on birthday hats and banners and all types of other different things, but you don't look at it as an angle. As an artist, look, all of these designs, look, they could be repurposed.
Yeah, they can.
Look at all of these places that, for example, I seen a Louis Vuitton book. You know what I'm saying? It was a book. And it was literally, or correction, it's a fake book, but it's basically like a centerpiece for the house.
But it's a fake book.
But it's a fake book. It's not real. Like,
it's not a real book that you can read.
It's not. Yeah. It may be.
It just imitates a big book.
Absolutely.
By Louis Vuitton.
Absolutely.
As a centerpiece.
But it's a medium. It's a product. It's something that looks good in the home.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it goes full circle. Versace have whole suites. When has Versace sold furniture? But they got their patterns stitched into the hotels. They got they patterns and their logos in the curtains and in rugs.
And their rugs and their robes.
Because they didn't put themselves in a box as far as where they see their creations in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The best part about art and creations is it's meant to be free, right? It's one of the freest activities to be able to represent what's going on in the mind.
And it's a way to speak it too. Like, it's a way to communicate.
Absolutely. It's an expression.
That art is that the visual expression. Like,
Yep.
music is the sound impression. This one's the visual one, not impression, visually. So now we're able to communicate in that language because we see in images.
Yeah.
You, sir, go ahead.
I mean, I feel like that's one of the reasons why abstract is so popular, because you can go on and on.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask 1,000 people what they see, and none of it is probably gonna be the same. And the crazy part about it is the artist probably just looking back, smiling like, you don't even know. You know what I'm saying? It started as that. Oh, it started as a lot of those things, but you still don't got it on the head. Tell me more. What else do you see?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a language.
Oh yeah.
It's an unprecedented language, if you want to say.
Yeah, you're right. And it's been used. Artistry has been used for propaganda. It's been used for protests. It's been used for many different forms of expression.
Absolutely.
Since dancing is a form of another physical impression. You have artistry being visual. You have music being audible or auditory. Auditory.
Right.
We always have to understand the grace that comes with being a creative and being a creator, right? Because now with you having, I just actually read something, and one of my very popular podcasters from EYL, his name's Rashad. He said on stage, "Don't think of yourself as an influencer. You are technically a world leader if you have any kind of followers." He said, "Think about it. to gain 1 million followers at the time we called world leaders was very, very rare. But the fact that now in many generations you can have 1 million followers, you're not an influencer, you're a world leader who influences people. World leaders influence people. Influencers don't influence.
Yeah.
If it's almost like you're giving a verb, you're trying to make a verb a noun. To influence, influenced, right? Verbs, adjective. I'm going to influence you. That's what you can use. So the better noun for that is world leader, and he's talked about that. I said I kind of respect that. Of course, there's different perspectives. I think everybody has their own right to that.
How do you feel about the whole influencer like movement?
Yeah, I think the influencer movement, it's exposed to us that we are very creative in different ways. I think it's helped out with science and how search histories and ADHD or different kind of mental illnesses that's come of it. But it's a great way to communicate. It's a great way to help you feel better because the algorithm in a way is always going to be tailored to what you think, feel, and see at that time. What do you want to think and feel, and it finds a way to fit those needs without ever asking you a survey. So the influencer thing is great. I have not one, but I probably have like maybe one downside to the influencer thing. It's now understanding. It's now, I think, the lack of responsibility influencers don't understand that they have now. So you've gained this level of popularity based off of whatever you decided to do. You can be a gamer, you can be a podcaster, YouTuber, you can be a car salesman, window salesman, you can tailor shoes. There's many different ways you influence the world, and it doesn't even have to be verbal, right? Look at Kali Lamb. He's the most popular dude on TikTok, and he never spoke a word. So that even shows that through actions that are perceived as such can make an impact. That is my problem when influencers do not understand the responsibilities and the power that they have can really affect not only their viewers and their people, but it affects them as well because they now have to feel that since it's their life, they have to continue this persona. Now, that's not for everybody, but from what I see, that's one of my downsides. It's getting a lot better, but that's one of my downsides, and I don't think everybody needs a podcast. Like, I think not. That's why I think we don't utilize certain mediums as best as we could to impact the youth, and so that's my advice. That's my opinion.
Nah, man. Love the influencer movement. It's been giving so many people a way to, like I said, claim ownership, make some type of impact, be something, but when you don't necessarily know how. It's a lot of hustlers. Now, on the flip side, the person that's on the other side of influence, right? I do believe too much of it can sometimes be self-sabotaging. Because when you always being influenced by other people's opinion, it limits critical thinking. So now you have 100 different people, or maybe even 1,000 people, influence you to think a certain way, right? Without necessarily going to do the research, right? Living these different experiences. So you just woke up in the morning, you see such and such feel this way, so man, I feel this way too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So from a certain aspect, I believe too much of it is not profound. Like, for me, it's not too encouraged for me. Like, too much of it. You know what I mean? Because I do believe it limits critical thinking. You're being influenced to think a certain way because you like their lifestyle, or you like certain aspects of this person, but you don't necessarily know the background. You don't necessarily know, the context of the mind. You really don't know.
Right. It's complex.
So I believe until you go and get the research, until you go and get the facts, you know what I'm saying? It's not as solid as it's just not as rock solid. You know what I mean? Because if that's the case, when do I think? When do I critically think? Like when do I think of different topics of my own and be like, oh man, I wanna figure out how this works.
Right. Get educated.
Right, of course.
Right.
Basically getting educated. Right. So it goes back into the topic of people not responsibly using their platform. Are you speaking like facts or is you speaking emotion? Both is important because people have different needs.
Right.
Some people need
that emotional side.
Yes, of course.
It just allows them to connect, and it's fun to that. And so, as a creator, you adapt to the environment and into the audience that
absolutely
that follows you. And I think, and we all do that. And I think that's a great way to what it does. And what skill, the crazy skill, what you're learning as that skill, you're learning management. It's a management style. You're learning business dynamics. So you're understanding the seasons because your followers, you can understand what your followers are needing in a certain season, and so you create content to fill that need. Right. You're as an influencer, it takes a lot of scheduling and discipline and creativity and structure. So in the fluidity of creating, there's always disciplines and structures that are being followed to the T to be able to produce wonderful masters of art, and that's the process. And so I want to speak on processes with you, man. As one of I got two more topics I want to break down with you, man. Because I appreciate the honor for allowing me to come to your city, and you know what I'm saying. And I think it's great for you that you allow me to be here. So I'm grateful for that, bro. Always. So alluding into, I want to talk about the disciplines and structure. How did you find a structure within your life? Just not as an artist, but as just you, as Mr. Luck created. What was that aha moment to? No, I need to get my life structured before something else happens. Like, what was that moment for you?
Oh man, I can't say it was one specific moment. I feel like every chapter of my life gave me moments to say like, man, like I kind of need to slow down. Right. The first moment for me, like real moment. Yeah. I was 17 years old. Right, in the midst of playing sports, high school football, track, the whole nine. But the first moment was being diagnosed with a terminal illness. 17 years old. So think about it, being at the top of your game, and bam, the news hit you. Life changed overnight. So that was my young adult phase. The second one was right before the pandemic. Right, it changed. It changed a lot of things for a lot of people.
Yeah, it did.
Right.
Yeah, it did.
Passing over the opportunities that I passed over before. Oh man, I might have a little time to address this,
tackle
this. So different moments of life cause like different different chapters of my life. It was different signs to structure up. So yeah, man, it's usually I don't know, man. For me, before a certain phase, it was usually conflict. It was usually when things was going south.
You're talking about that transitionary period where the conflict steps in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's usually
I'm
conflict. It's usually conflict. Conflict usually sits a person down, and it's like, all right, everything around you doesn't even matter at this point. I could care less who's looking. I could care less who was around. I have to figure out what's good for me right now. Right?
Right.
And it's gonna be a moment that you decide to put yourself first. All right, well, what do I need? You know what I mean? So the first part about structuring is getting concepts and ideas out of your head and putting it on paper.
It's a start.
You have to write it down. You have to write it down. Second is you have to release the fear of how people will view you once you make this transition, because it doesn't matter. You're thinking about what's good for you, because so many times we we put aside ideas or topics or things that we may want to do, but we so set on holding on to what we used to be and how would this person look. A lot of people classify this as being afraid of being successful.
Yeah.
You're not afraid of failing. You're afraid of how you'll look with this new type of success, even though it wasn't part of your first personality. You know what I mean? And
it's almost like blocking your chance at creating a new identity.
It's blocking your elevation.
It's blocking your elevation.
It's making you. It's setting you on a. It's keeping you on the same frequency. It's keeping you on the same vibration. And the only thing that's really worth any type of value is who you are. You know what I'm saying? What you stand for. What I understand. Like, higher consciousness. Am I aware that people are making money like this, or do I just care not to figure out because I don't know if I'll be able to do it?
I think it comes hand in hand where there's that different experiences that people do. So I want to speak on the experiences of the actually seeing it, right? So exposure is one of the it's a very popular term in photography. Exposure, how things are exposed to you. The media talks about exposure, but then we also experiences and exposures start with the first three letters. You know what I'm saying? So. True. Think about it. Expire, expiration, exploration. Experiences. That EXP is always for something is coming to end, or is there something there is something to end, or there is something more.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's just when you put it in that way, that's what I've been able to decipher. And just understand for myself. Now, everybody else can understand differently than what I just broke down, but that to me, my mind makes sense in that different levels of consciousness. So, also instead, so we want to dig into that first part as well. But now the second piece on this two-parter, it's you now want to understand the not the art, you want to understand the structuring now. How are we structuring this? And the scalability based on what the marketplace has. That's the second side of it. While we're being creative and we're moving in those frequencies and that higher consciousness, like we said, now there is a rigid building block.
Okay.
That gives the creativeness a tunnel or a channel to emerge its energy from. So a discipline that I do in the world of investing, for example, or let's say just for track, because you was an athlete, so you can understand this. In athletics, we that's a very good way to learn those kind of rigid disciplines. Get up at this time, we work out at this time, we eat at this time, we sleep at this time, we get up at this time, recover at this time, we run these plays. Very structured. Nothing wrong with that. That's just, but that taught us we can do that same kind of regimen in our lives outside of athletics, because also think about athletes also have to be creative to win too. So there's that second dynamic in artistry. We're not even drawing anymore. We're now watching it physically in our eyes. That now we're getting it off of that second dimension, which is flat.
Of course. Yeah, you just have different mediums.
We're changing the mediums, like you said before, from skateboard to murals to paintings. Absolutely. Nope, now we're in from lines to shapes to touchable, tangible figures.
Right.
All up here.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing. So, I want to come into a close for tonight. And bro, like I appreciate this level of wisdom that you're able to give to us, man. Number one, what's coming up for Mr. Created? If you can give us some sneak peeks on some projects, ideas you got coming out.
No doubt.
So that'll be part one. What you got coming out? What's new for Mr. Created? And then number two, what would you advise? What would be one thing that you want all artists or any creators from you? So they're like, yo. And it's like someone's like, yo, have you ever seen Luck Created, man? There's this one thing that always stuck. What would be that piece? So, first one. So the first one is what's coming next for Mr. Created, and then number two, what piece of advice would you give to all creators?
Okay, all right. So what's coming next is the official launch of FaceTime NFT, FaceTime clothing brand, just the whole Face brand.
Yeah.
Right. So the brand is named Face. The website is already out. Merch is out. New collections coming soon, and a full rollout of the NFT project is gonna be coming soon for me. Also, of course, the investing business. We taking this next level, right?
Exactly.
Have so many new strategies on the way. So many new platforms, social media influencer platform, drop shipping. All of these things is going full circle, and a nice amount of them is out now, but early first quarter is gonna be the coming soon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, what would be that piece of advice you would give to artists who would watch this video and begin their journeys?
First piece of advice, don't skip ownership. Right? The first thing is sometimes it could be a simple domain. Look, let me own my name. So when I decide to get a site or when I decide to set up some type of platform, look, I know this is mine. So whatever I label myself as, I already got this locked in for a certain amount of time. So you can do the domain. All right, cool. LLC. Right? Because this is your company. You want to and what a lot of people not understanding is everything is a business.
Everything is, yep.
Like everything in the business, and you can get funded for that business. Right? Through the LLC, through the business.
Through banks.
Yes, through the banks. Even a game, like a person that literally just played video games all day, bro. You're a streamer. You're a content creator. This is a whole business.
It's a whole business. People are watching. You are entertaining people.
So the game that you buying and upgrading every so often, bro. Amazon Business Credit. Get the PS5 from that. Get your monitors from that. Get your mic, get your camera, get all of these things, because it can be charged, because that is all of the tools that's necessary for the growth of your business.
Right.
You can get funded for that, but you have to have an LLC first. You have to first have ownership, right? So that's the second thing I would say. For the person that's pushing like a brand, like a clothing brand, first and foremost, find your logo, like a solid logo, because before you start like fully rolling out, you want to do brand recognition.
Brand recognition, okay.
Right? Brand recognition is simply just a person being able to identify your stamp, your logo to you, right?
Put them together.
Absolutely, it's being able to put two and two together. The easiest way is, and I'm a person that believe in charging their value, but you're gonna have to give deliverables, whether it's a business card, whether it's a wristband, whether it's a keychain, or hey, it might even be a T-shirt. But at the end of the day, you need to get your brand recognized by
straight looking at it.
Yeah, just by looking at it.
Just by looking at it.
I shouldn't even have to tell you where to find it. It's brand recognition. When I see it, it stand out. It's bold. It's not confusing. It's legible. I know exactly what this is. When I pull out my phone and you see an apple on the back, you don't have to. You don't have to question nothing.
You know who that is. Yeah.
You know who it is, right? When you honestly, sometimes you don't even have to see apple. You could just see a great font in a great font.
Yeah, a great font with a certain color, certain different color dynamics.
Certain colors, certain size.
Apple.
Certain placement. Boom, Apple. Just off the rip. So every brand needs that. Every brand has it. LV is Louis Vuitton.
They got it.
Right. Double G. What's the double G?
The double G?
The double G. 2 G's. It's Gucci.
Gucci.
Just all the way. Right? So every brand has it. So I believe that's important too. Before you really push it out, establish brand recognition, and that requires a solid logo. You like and you love your first design. You only get one shot at a first impression. So make sure that's solid. That's something that a lot of brands that's one of the main mistakes a lot of brands do early on. They have a design that's good enough, and they invest into it. And I'm totally for investing into it, but what often happens is, man, it's not as appealing as you wanted it to. It wasn't as complete. And now you invested this capital, you got this merchandise you can't move, right? And that was hard to move on to the next.
Right. because you're now stuck with all that merchandise.
Absolutely,
Yep.
and it kills confidence. It kills production. Now your money tied up in the first investment because you rushed it out. So it falls back into the earlier conversation of the process. You know what I'm saying? Roll through the process.
Go through the process. Stick to that foundation. Brand recognition, brand marketing, brand trademarking, copywriting, trademarks, copyrights. Get the LLCs, get the ownership. Make that first step. Is own your pieces, own your literature, own your IP, which is your intellectual property. What you think, own that stuff. And then when you in the ownership, now you know that from all angles you own everything that's about to happen, and then push it out. But man, I appreciate you for allowing me to come to your homestead in Houston, man. It's always an honor and pleasure to be able to be in your space and be in the room, guys. In the description down below, you're gonna find all of his social media platforms, stuff like that. You guys definitely look at his stuff. Mr. Luck Created is just an amazing individual, man. I'm so proud and just grateful that he's been in the room, he's in the building. So for you guys, if you guys need anything from me, man, you guys already know where to find me on social media. You guys go ahead and make that stuff possible, man. So Mr. Creative, man, appreciate you always, man. Let's get it, and I'll catch you next time. All right, y'all. It's been episode 2 of the CTN podcast. Signing out. Let's get it.